We are live. I just have to do the standard sharing, maybe. Want to share. There we go. Put this out on Twitter so that all my Twitter. Ta-da! Maybe I'll adjust this a little bit. But yes, we are back in Doodle Invasion. I figured we'd do a little bit more of a close-up today, so you can actually see what I'm doing rather than being like really far back. I just wanted to do something low-key because, oh my goodness, this week has been an adventure and a half. So I just want to take it slow this morning. I'm just here to relax, I guess, and just hang out with you guys. So if you have anything that you guys want to talk about, just let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna ramble endlessly and probably start out with my reds and my pinks because, of course, they are always and forever my favorite. Hi, Vanessa. So yes, so if I remember correctly, we used red, the raspberry, and then the coral. So we'll start with those three. And like I said, I don't have any rhyme or reason to which spot I choose to start coloring. I just supposedly just wherever I feel doing that. Oh, thank you, Vanessa. I'm glad you like my coloring. This is just something I do for fun because otherwise I'd go insane because I need creative outlet, right? Okay, so where do I have someone that needs to be colored in these? I did a little bit earlier, and so we're almost to the point where, let's see if I can show you what I'm doing in frame. Almost to the point where I want to start adding in some of the grays, but there's a few little doodles that I want to do first. And it is rainy today, which I was not expecting. It's winter and it's raining, which usually means ice around here, but it looks like we're gonna keep the warmth, which is odd. I'm not used to that. I mean, I won't say no to it because I hate ice, especially since I have to travel shortly. Here we go. My little blob. Probably do that fish right there green. Do we have any other blobs in this area? I don't think so. Like I said, I'm starting to run out of things that I can do in these colors. Let's see, do we have anything? Because I want to do, oh, we could probably do that fish. But I do like hearing the rain on the roof and in the drain pipes. I find it oddly soothing. So it was a good thing to wake up to this morning. Almost didn't get out of bed. But then I remembered that I get to hang out with you guys today. Like I said, I'm just low-keying it today. With all of the drama that has been going on this week, I figured this was much needed. This, I'm trying to do, Vanessa, I'm trying to do this as a weekly creative live stream. Most of the time, I'm probably going to be coloring, but sometimes I do creative projects. I think last week I did book defacing because I wanted to have book decorations for my wedding, and I figured you guys would enjoy seeing that process. So I want to do this weekly. I'm going to attempt to do this every Sunday around this time. So yeah, look for that. I will be here. That, and I'm just learning how to do this whole live stream thing. This is not the first time. I mean, I just decided it was something I decided to do this year because I've been watching a whole bunch of creative live streams, and I just had a hankering to do it myself, and I've been putting all of my colorings on Snapchat up to this point, and I've gotten so much good feedback on all my other coloring videos that I'm like, this would be perfect for a weekly thing, just to sit down with you guys, have a little chat, and do a little coloring. It gives me an excuse to not feel guilty about just sitting down and doing this stuff rather than dealing with all of the wedding stuff that's coming up. Because right now I feel the push to finish all of my creative projects for the wedding, and this definitely does not fall into needing to be done, but it gives me an excuse. This live stream gives me an excuse to at least have an hour or so of coloring a week, which is nice. And I don't ever really have anything I plan on talking about whenever I do these streams. I just ramble endlessly. I'm pretty good at rambling. However, I'm still getting used to rambling for an hour, at least in a cohesive fashion. So a lot of times I can ramble. Trust me, I can ramble with the best of them. But I also want this to be a productive ramble. Hi, Grace. I'm glad you could join in. Okay, I'm going to switch to the greens. Okay, and for the greens, I've got the kiwi, the sea foam, and the turquoise surf. And I'm hoping to do this whole page with these new Crayola signature, but depending on how things go and what colors I need, I might break out some of the Tombow markers. Grace, where did you hear about this Amazon tube? I mean, it doesn't surprise me in the least that Amazon is possibly going to try and reach into the video market because they are such a big place. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd switch over to something like that because I know right now that everybody's on YouTube, so that's where all of the waters are. But I do love me Amazon. Amazon is a very, very, very dangerous place for me. Between all of my coloring stuff and my book stuff, I also get all of my animal supplies from them too. So I have a subscription that they send out each month. So they have a lot of my money already. Patreon, yeah, I've been hearing a lot about Patreon as well. A lot of creators are starting Patreons to supplement what they're losing with YouTube. And I can certainly understand that. And if I wanted to make this a full-time thing for me, I'd probably do something similar. But at this time, this is just something fun for me. Though, I won't lie, I do daydream sometimes about this being like my full-time career. But at the same time, I have some cats to support, And trust me, they are some needy, needy cats. We always joke, me and my fiance, every time he gets a promotion or something like that, that I'm one step closer to becoming a stay-at-home cat mom. That is the dream. Staying at home, taking care of the cats. Yeah, I'm more of a animal person, which is why I keep collecting animals. So I always joke that if I ever become a stay-at-home human, it's going to be to take care of all of the animals. At one point in my life, I contemplated starting like a rescue organization and just taking in animals and taking care of them that way. But I have so many allergies that it just became unrealistic, which is why I volunteer every now and then at the shelter. But I couldn't do that full time. I have to be careful about what I actually bring into the house, which is sad, but you can't take care of something else if you yourself aren't being taken care of. Grace, I have two hairless cats. They're both females. Their names are Fia and Nissa. And then I have two hairless guinea pigs who are Jacob and Wilhelm. So I have cat allergies. I have rodent allergies, which is why I have the hairless animals in an attempt to see if that will, of course, not have issues with my allergies. And I still have minor issues, but not nearly what I would have otherwise. And yes, Tombow markers can bleed through a lot. Even these, I think these Crayolas here, yeah, the Crayolas are bleeding through too, but that's because I layer like crazy, which is why I prefer to have coloring books that are one-sided. So that way I can just go crazy with whatever coloring books I have. Do we have any? Oh yes, we have that fish up there. Let's see. Is this one the kiwi? The only thing I dislike about these markers is the fact that they're different colors on each end. So when I'm holding these markers open like this, sometimes it is hard to tell what I'm about to grab, especially when the tip colors are so similar. Because I can't go by the colors of the caps at the bottom because it's a completely different color. So yeah. Luckily, I was not hit by the whole YouTube demonetization thing. I'm not entirely sure how that happened. I think it's because some of my videos have gone somewhat minorly viral. At least they constantly get views on it. One of them is my series of unfortunate events review. And at this point, most of the comments that I get back from that video are people not so thrilled with me on my final feelings on the series. So it is the haters that has kept me as a YouTube partner. Go figure. Okay, I think that is most of what I want to do. Maybe we'll do him in the green and then start on the grays. Hi, it's a reading thing. Glad you could join us. It's true. Haters have a way of just kind of keeping things going, even if they don't mean to. I had a good giggle about that one. It's like, I don't mind if you enjoyed that series. I didn't dislike the series of unfortunate events. I just had a few minor issues with it. And I plainly stated that. In fact, I gave most of the series three stars. So it's not like I hated it. It's just I probably would have enjoyed it if I was younger. And I think that was the major issue, is because I came at it in my 20s rather than in my preteens. What color is the green? And it just started to feel repetitive and inconclusive, and a lot of the characters were just annoying, I guess. But I am enjoying seeing the Netflix series. So there's definitely two camps about that series. Well, thank you, Shay. I think it's coming together nicely too. My roommate actually watched an episode or so of The Crown because I got her into Doctor Who, because I am a huge Doctor Who fan. I blame my father for that. But because Matt Smith is in The Crown, she thought she'd give it a try. But of course, it's always weird when you see a character that you have gotten so used to, and then the actor playing a different role, you still kind of see that character in your mind. Candace, I am using the dual brush Crayola, the new signature markers. I just got them for Christmas, and so this is my first attempt at using them. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to use the gray and the black to maybe do some of this waterish, fog-ish stuff. Maybe? I don't know. I love using Tombows, Candace, and I do much the same thing with them because I prefer to use brush tip markers, and they're very similar because they're both water-based, but I think that the Tombows, I like the brush tip on the Tombows better. Yeah, it's hard to see Matt Smith as anything other than the Doctor. Though I won't lie, my Doctor will always be David Tennant. I think that is the one that really got me hooked into the whole Doctor Who franchise. I mean, I started watching the Ninth Doctor, Eccleston. Didn't even realize that there was that whole, like, regeneration thing, and almost boycotted. But then I decided I'd give it a chance because I should. And then I got hooked because of David Tennant. And yes, I have gone back and seen a lot of the older episodes as well, which was hard at points, but you do what you gotta do. direction I wanted it. Tom Baker as the Doctor. I've seen a couple of his episodes. And yeah, I can see, yeah. It's so interesting what each of the actors bring to the characters. And I'm still getting used to the idea of the Doctor switching genders to a female. I don't totally hate the idea. I mean, I guess I'll see how it goes, but I've been fading on Doctor Who a little bit. It hasn't been holding my attention the way it used to, and I don't know. But I'm still gonna watch it. I probably will forever watch it if it continues on forever. It's definitely doing some interesting things when you get it to like the pure black at the end of these. Trying to get it to blend a little bit together. There we go. I do wish there were some more colors that you could use together in this set, but it's Crayola. I can't fault them. They're sets for people who are just experimenting with things, or the younger kids who are just coloring, and yeah, they're not made for blending. But I am still going to attempt to. My fear, though, is that because I've only got gray and black, you're going to start losing some of the details. That's okay. That's what color books are for. Experimenting. And who knows? Maybe it will look awesome. Because I want the little guys to stand out. And I don't know quite yet what I'm going to do with some of the crazier characters. Like this bird. I don't quite know what I'm going to do with him yet. Am I in focus, guys? I feel like I'm just on this side of, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I stare at stuff too long, and I feel like it's... I start to go cross-eyed. Okay, thank you, Shay. Thank you for letting me know that yes, I am in focus. You guys should see the lighting setup that I have for this right now. Because every time I start one of these live streams, I do it a little bit different. And normally, since I'm in my basement, I'll have the heater on at my feet. But because I have so many lights pointed at me right now, I don't need them. Which is saying something. Because I want you guys to actually see what I am doing. I have been wondering if maybe in the past I've done like the behind the booktube tag where I've shown my setup for recording my booktube videos, which actually hasn't changed, and I think I did it like 2 years ago almost that I did that tag. Maybe a year ago, I don't know. My setup hasn't changed from that, but since I'm doing these live streams, I'm wondering if maybe I should show what I'm doing. Maybe maybe something on Instagram or something like that. I don't know. I mean, it's exciting to me. I love seeing how people do stuff. Yeah, I've got 2 desk lamps that have the Philip Hue lights in them, so I can change the color tone if I need to. Right now I have them on like a pure white light because I also have 2 soft boxes behind me and above me that are pointed at a drafting table, and both of those have pure white lights in them as well, and they've got different settings. I believe each of them have like 5 different bulbs that you can turn on in different combinations. And then of course I have the overhead lights on just in case. And of course I have been eyeballing ring lights. I mean, I don't use them in my booktube videos because I have glasses and that would reflect really, really bad, but I had wondered if like just a cheap little ring light would help with these kind of live shows. But maybe I'm just, you know, overdoing it with lights, because at some point you're just not helping yourself, you're hindering yourself. So yeah, I get a little nerdy about all of the techie stuff, and I think that just comes from my background in photography and graphic design. Oh, Shay, I'm excited that you got new lights. It'll be interesting to see what you do with them. What kind of lights did you get? I mean, I'd probably be using more natural light if there was windows in my office bookshelf area. But most of the time there's not. But it is nice to be able to film whenever you want and not have to worry about time of day, because otherwise, you know, you feel like you have to rush and get things done, and if you don't, then you have to wait for the next day. I actually got a cheap set off of Amazon. I have no idea what they're called, but I know the brand, I think, is Cowboy Studios. I highly recommend, if you do get lights and you want to make more of an investment, any kind of softbox is good. But if you want to go more of like finding a good sturdy lamp, finding a bigger lamp that you can put farther away and that you can put some kind of like sheet of paper or just a sheet in general so that you can soften up the light. But I love my softboxes. I use them all the time. And I've probably had this current set for 4 years or so, and I haven't had to replace the bulbs yet. That's the only thing about softbox lights, is the bulbs in them are ridiculously expensive. So if you break them, it's a pain because A, you have to buy a new light, and B, you have to find the correct way to dispose of them. But yeah, my roommate will be, of course, moving out when I get married, and she'll be maybe taking some of the soft boxes with her because she's a newborn photographer. Or she may be investing in like a ginormous softbox that's bigger than I am, which is pretty awesome, but I ain't got the money for that, so more power to her. No, and a lot of the stuff that I picked up about lighting and videography and even a little bit of photography, I've gotten from Creative Live. I don't know if you guys have heard of Creative Live, but it's a website where you can watch, I guess they're kind of webinars for free when they're airing. And they have some of the most amazing artists and technical people on that show. I used to binge them all the time while I was working. They would be playing in the background. And I have learned so much from them. And I know they've expanded so that they have other things like starting like a creative business on Etsy and all of that kind of stuff. But every once in a while, I still go back and I watch certain of those kind of things, but they've taught me a lot of what I know about lighting design and composite photography and things like that. I am not so much a fan of this bullet nib at all, especially in the bigger spaces. Doesn't quite flow the way I want it to. Jeffrey, you are very, very, very helpful. I don't think anybody is going to let us put a softbox on a registry. And even if we did, I highly doubt anybody is going to buy it for us. Not that I really need any more softboxes. Like I said, at this point, I'm probably just pushing it farther than it needs to go. Okay, a softbox, Grace, is, okay, how do I explain a softbox? So you know when you go and get your picture taken, they have the lights usually on either side that flashes when you get your picture taken. And a lot of times the bulb is just, it's right there. It's not covered or anything. A softbox is when that light has most of the time it has a sheet of fabric over top of it because it softens the light. And so they call it a softbox. Can't quite get this to blend the way I want it to. Does that kind of make sense? And of course, my soft boxes are continuous lighting, so they don't need a trigger to make them flash. And that's a lot better for filming purposes. Though I know traditionally when people are filming, they use the LED barn door style lighting. Yeah, no, they can get pretty pricey. Though there are some kits of soft boxes that you can get like 3 or so lights for $150 or so, which is pretty cheap for lighting, but at the same time, it's not necessarily cheap. So I'm kind of liking how this is turning out. Shay, what is you most excited about for your channel in 2018? What am I most excited about? I don't know. I am pretty excited to see where these live streams go. Because towards the end of 2015, I seriously started thinking about it. I don't know why. I don't know what triggered me into wanting to do this. It's just something that just started bugging me. I guess I kind of want to see where, like, collabs and getting more involved in the community leads my channel, because previous couple of years I've just been making videos as I have reviews or other things like that. I haven't done a lot of like huge collaborations. I mean, I've tried to in the past, and it is sometimes hard to do because that puts you on a deadline. And most of the time I film just because I have the urge to. I don't necessarily plan them out. Hence why these live shows are right up my alley, because as I'm sitting down, I can decide what I'm doing. But yeah, just seeing where that can lead, what that means. I don't know. Growing my channel. Grace, are you a heavy-handed colorist or a light-handed colorist with pencils? With pencils. I'm so used to coloring with markers, and you don't have to apply a lot of pressure with markers, that I tend to be like very light and a lot of layers, and sometimes that annoys me because it takes forever. And it's still something I'm kind of getting used to. Plus, my hands, they cramp. They cramp easily. I can't even open jars anymore because story of my life. So being able to do lighter pressure, it's almost a must at this point. Plus, like I said, I love doing layers and seeing where layers lead, especially with shading. And I do watch Dee Dee a lot, and I really love her work. Not gonna lie. When I first started getting into coloring books, part of it was her channel that got me interested in possibly doing it again. And then, of course, she is amazing with all kinds of mediums. I actually got a new computer maybe a year ago. No, it couldn't have been a year ago. 9 months or so ago, last summer, because my computer at the time, rendering and just creating videos in gender, yes, in gender. I gender my videos. In general, creating videos in general was like pulling teeth. And I use my computer all the time because I am editing photos and I'm doing all kinds of other things with Photoshop and whatnot. And so that computer, it just started, I can't talk all of a sudden, just started slowing down, and it's bad. I still have that computer and I still use it for things like Netflix and whatnot, but you can definitely feel the lag in it. But now that I got my new iMac, rendering is amazing. I don't even use a complicated piece of software. I just use iMovie just because editing with it is so much faster than having to deal with a lot of some of the extra stuff that you have to deal with, like with Premiere Pro and things like that. I mean, I've kind of looked into Premiere Pro, but there's a lot of things you can do with it, but it also takes more time to do things with it because you can do a lot of things with it. So right now, I don't see myself switching from iMovie unless there's something extremely complicated that I want to do in the future, but I like where my videos are at right now. I think it's mostly content that I want to improve upon. I mean, every once in a while, I want to try something different with my thumbnails and things like that, or with the graphics I add to my video. I mean, this year I started something a little different with my thumbnails just to see if I like it or not. But yeah, about every 6 months or so, I decide that I'm tired of looking at the same old graphics. Let's try something new. Yeah, I love my Mac. I mean, I grew up using both, but because I'm in the creative world, the fact that I could use a Mac at home and a Mac at work, I love it. I love it so much. Though there are times where I wish Mac would, you know, step off of the thought process of keeping laptops and iMacs, or laptops and iPads completely separate. I would love to have a laptop with a touchscreen. I think that would be amazing. Or even having a touchscreen on my iMac. Blending those worlds. Just seeing where that could go. I'm all for trying that, but right now I'm sure they make a lot of money for. What video am I most proud of? Ooh, that's a hard question. I don't know. I have to think about that one. I mean, for the longest time, the videos that had the most work put into them and that I was the proudest of were my composite photography, where I put all of those together. And I mean, I shot and then I photoshopped and then I had filmed like that whole process and I showed you guys, but I haven't done any of those in so long. I mean, at this point, a lot of my editing time and my creative time will actually go into these coloring videos where I do the whole image and then I speed it up, do some kind of reading towards it. But otherwise, on a lot of my other videos, it's a lot of prep work to decide what I want to do, but I don't script my videos at all. I usually just sit down, film it within like 20 minutes, and then it takes me 45 minutes to edit or so, and then I upload it. So I guess, I mean, I'm invested in them, but it's the creative videos that I've always had to put more effort into because there's a lot of the back end stuff. So I've always been extremely proud of those. Yeah, I do kind of miss doing the composite imagery stuff too, but I just, my mental processes just haven't been there. And I started following a couple people on Instagram that are doing a lot of the bookish composite imagery, and that's kind of been sparking some stuff. But at the same time, I don't want to necessarily copy them. I want it to be something all its own. And I have to give props to people who can do composite imagery. I mean, I can sit there and do it in Photoshop, but on a mobile device, I think I would just get frustrated. See ya, Shay. So yeah, I just like being creative, I guess. But at the same time, if I want to steadily put videos out and keep in contact with you, they definitely can't be the only thing that I do. I do watch Jen from Reading with Pugs. Yeah, no, I have watched her for quite a while. I mean, even before she started into the coloring world. And she does some good work as well. Plus, her puppies are adorable. Won't lie, I may have started watching her because of her channel name. But that's okay. I mean, it amazes me how there is this whole color tube community. Of course, it's to be expected because, I mean, there's booktube, so why wouldn't there be color tube? But I slowly stumbled into it. About the same time that I found DD, I believe Jen started into the coloring world. And so it was a very natural progression into me watching a lot of coloring videos. And of course, that all led me into coloring in general. I didn't ever think it was something I would do because honestly, very much dislike using colored pencils. But then I started seeing all of these brush tip markers and Copics. I am in love with Copics, and I will probably do a Copic coloring at some point because I love me some Copics. But of course, you have to find the right kind of page to do with Copics because you could not do something this fine with Copic markers. It would just bleed everywhere. I do watch Anne over at A Colorful Life. I watch her now. $300 for Holbeins. I mean, I can't judge. I have spent that and more on my Copic markers. So if I hope you get to that point, because that would be amazing. I've heard good things about them. And if, you know, I actually got more into colored pencils, I mean, I don't see that happening. But if I ever did, I could completely understand wanting to maybe get a set of those. You can do a lot with 150 different colors. I don't even know if I have a set that large. I mean, even my Copic, I think I've only got like 111 Copics. And then between the combination of my Faber-Castell colored pencils and the Artist Pitt pens, I have the full set of 120, but I don't think I have 150 colors altogether. So I can only imagine the fun that you can get into with that many colors. Do I want to start? Blend in the other stuff around it. Kind of do it the opposite direction. I have absolutely no rhyme or reason on which direction is black and which direction is gray. I'm just playing it by ear. Grace, that is a lot of colored pencils and kind of amazing. That's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or so different sets of colored pencils. I love watching videos of people showing off like their collection of coloring utensils and whatnot. There was a time there that was all on my watch list. It is an addiction, I won't lie. I mean, it's just as addicting as all of my books, which, like I said, I think I said it last time, that I have to be careful because if left to my own devices, I'd probably end up with every single color of every single brand that I love, even if I didn't need them. You're right, Grace. It does get very, very pricey, which is why I tried to space out my purchasing. For the longest time, I was maybe buying Copics in sets of 4 or 5 at a time. And I've kind of slowed down on the Copics because I feel like at this point I have most of the colors that I use. I mean, heck, I wouldn't ever turn down free Copics from anybody, but I think I have a color range that I am comfortable with at this point. Ooh, sorry. Getting a little shingle. Yeah, Grace, I have seen a couple of your coloring videos. I mean, I guess I could color the smoke. I think I'm going to stick with the water first. I don't even know if it is water. That is kind of the thing with Kerby, is you kind of assume what things are, but doesn't necessarily mean that they are. It is whatever you decide to make it. Yeah, that is what I love about markers the most, is because they are so stinking vibrant and I can do so much with them. And of course, they have their trade-offs. I mean, I most of the time I have to be extremely careful about which coloring books I choose because markers bleed. All markers bleed. It just depends on how many layers you actually put down of markers. Sometimes you can get it so that you won't have issues with bleed through, but then of course you can't get you can't get super excited about layering and blending and all that kind of stuff. But then again, there are some coloring books that are two-sided that have like very thick pages and are amazing. So and yeah, and getting to, I guess, my coloring style was a bit of a process. I mean, when I first started picking up coloring books, no, I did not color like this at all. It was almost a happy accident when I started coming up with all of this blending and shading and whatnot. And of course, a lot of it is inspired by people like Dee Dee and Bailey J and watching their videos and all the things that they can do, and me trying and attempting to emulate them and falling into a somewhat happy medium of a place where I feel comfortable coloring. But I do like doing a lot of the shading from one color to another, that ombre kind of effect. Not necessarily realistic, but something with a little depth. And of course, I do this for fun, just to kind of relax. Try not to put too much pressure on it. But yeah, it does amaze me what some of the artists can do. Of course, I also love seeing like illustrators or other kind of artists when they come out with coloring books. Those are my favorite. It's when I find an artist I love and they decide to put out a coloring book. I mean, I think it's interesting that a lot of the YouTube artists are coming out with coloring books, but it makes me a little sad when they're just digital, because I don't have the time or the ink to print off pages. I just like getting the book and having it bound and things like that. But I mean, I completely understand it, because if you have a certain medium that you like to use and you have paper for that medium, having a digital coloring book where you can just print out the pages repeatedly and maybe do it in different styles, I can totally understand that thought process too, but I like having physical coloring books. Okay, well, I think I'm probably going to end here for now. I've got some stuff that I need to do, but I am so glad that all of you guys came and decided to hang out with me for a little while. You guys are all amazing, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.